It's Brian Preston, the Money Guy.
This is from Kevin. Kevin says, my annual bonus has a much larger portion of taxes taken out than my typical paycheck. Is this common? Why is this the case? I'm going to expand his question a little bit because we have clients all the time who they'll get a big bonus in the month of December. And when it comes time to do their taxes, we go and there's a huge underpayment. And they're like, what happened? Why did this take place? Can you talk a little bit about how taxation is done from a payroll perspective, especially when you have like fluctuations in income, and then maybe just bolt on at the end? Hey, if you're someone who's in this situation, what are some strategies you can employ to try to like offset that?
Yeah, we talked about earlier in today's show, estimated tax payments, but the best way to pay your taxes, because the government gives more grace to this, is withholding. Mm-hmm. So, and the most popular way to withhold is out of your paycheck. You work, they pay you, a portion of that pay goes to the federal government and the state governments for tax withholding. The reason that is the favored way to pay your taxes is because it doesn't matter if you withheld that taxes on January 1st, if you withheld that tax on December 31st, the government treats whenever that withholding was done almost like it was just paid on January 1st. Mm-hmm. They give you credit for the full year in minimizing taxes. So you can already tell, since the government's doing that, there's some type of quasi-projection or use of withholding. So when people have variability in their pay, and you can imagine, because we run payroll once a month here, and I'm such a nerd.
You're still the payroll guy.
I'm such a nerd. I just have not, outsourced or given away that responsibility yet. Because there's part of me as a business owner, I kind of like paying our 20 plus employees and seeing it and feeling that fulfillment after I hit the submit button and knowing we had the money to cover it. But it is one of those things where when you're withholding it, your income fluctuates. They're kind of making some assumptions on what your income is based upon what your pay is that month and how it will continue. So in the payroll systems, if you have a big bonus that comes in and it's just going off your default payroll instructions, it might push you into, the system might say, wow, this at this earnings level, they're going to be in this tax rate here, this marginal rate, we better withhold extra. So you see a big chunk of money withheld out of that because they're kind of essentially, in a way, annualizing your income at that much higher level. Here's what I tell people, especially on year-end bonuses. Some great planning opportunities. First, go to your HR department, whoever's in charge of your payroll, and say, look, I've noticed in the past I'm getting huge refunds, and it's primarily driven by the big withholding that's coming out of these big bonuses. I'd like to know if there's any ability for me to come to you and we do some custom withholding on that year-end bonus. And especially if you're an executive level, you might find that this has a lot of opportunity because, first of all, it lets you do several things. Maybe your 401k withholding needs to be a little different on bonuses than it needs to be on, on normal pay, so that you can make sure you maximize. You're reaching step 6 of the financial order of operations, where you're maxing out your retirement options. The other thing you want to ask them is, hey, can I do a tax projection and tell you specifically what to withhold out of that big annual bonus, both for the federal government and the state government? And a lot of times employers do have that capability to do that if you're just proactive and you don't wait until the last minute. You need to be very proactive with this, because most financial or accounting type people, they'll do anything in the world for you, but they just don't like procrastination because that puts more pressure, more stress on them, because it's hard to move mountains very quickly with this stuff. So an ounce of planning will really go a long way on this. And I think you might be surprised that this will help, Kevin, on making sure that you're not getting those huge refunds because of bonuses, or, maybe they're under withholding. This covers you both ways.
Here's a little piece of free advice. If you're truly a financial nerd, a financial mutant, right? Take last year's tax return and just put it on a spreadsheet. Like all the things that you had, wages, dividends, all credits, all the deductions, whatever you had. And then kind of compare that to this year, right? And you can kind of do a very simplified tax projection for yourself. And if you are someone, you think this is going to be a big year, I'm going to get a big bonus, go ahead and drop that in and see what it does to your marginal tax rate, to your effective tax rate, and see where that puts you. And let that be your guidance, especially for someone who gets paid like quarterly. And that way, we have clients, sometimes they have to make quarterly estimates and sometimes they don't, depending on how the years are going. A little bit of preparation early on, and it's not incredibly complicated if you are If you understand how to look at a tax form, you understand how a spreadsheet works, you can do this. I don't think it's crazy to kind of keep like a running total throughout the year to see if that makes sense.
It's so funny you said that because that's exactly what I did was I went and grabbed last year's tax return.
Yep.
Then added up all my income sources. I compared the two, figured out the difference, multiplied that sum by my marginal rate.
Yep.
And I was like, okay, what did I pay in taxes?
How close am
Added
I?
those two together, and then I subtracted what I'd made in estimated tax payments. And I was like, all right, this will be okay. And so that's what Bo just described is a good, easy way to kind of conservatively estimate what your taxes are going to be.